Today we're talking about how to find surface area of rectangular prisms, and surface area is the area of the faces of a 3D object. Because it's an area, we label it, or our label is squared. It's to the second power, like inches squared. And the way that we're going to find surface area is we're going to draw nets and find the area of those compound shapes. A net is a compound shape. It represents a 3D object. Object laid flat. 3D object laid flat. And so when we draw a net, there's always going to be 6 total rectangles, and there will be 2 of each size. There will be 2 large, 2 medium, 2 small. So we already looked at and talked about some real-life examples. I showed you a Cheez-Its box in the first example, and we unfolded it to make a net, and then we drew a net and kind of filled in some values and found the surface area of that net once already. And you'll see here there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rectangles, and there are 2 of each side, 2 pink size, 2 pink, 2 green, and 2 purple. And so we've kind of talked through already some of those basics of surface area, and we really hit on, we use surface area to figure out how much cardboard we need to make a box, or how much wrapping paper we need to cover each side of a box. If we're painting something, we could use surface area to find out how much paint we need to cover the outside of a shape. And so we're going to open up here, and we're going to do the first example together and start really quickly here and jump right in. So we have a rectangular prism here, and it wants us to draw the rectangular prism as a net and then calculate the surface area using the table and label our answer. And so what we're going to do here is I am not the best spatial learner, and so for me, personally, drawing nets is difficult. And so the way that I do them is I always start with my bottom. I always start just by thinking about this shape sitting on the table, and I draw out my bottom. And the bottom of this shape I know is 10 centimeters by 2 centimeters, so I'm going to put that label in right away. And then I start to unfold the box little by little. So I think about my Cheez-Its box, and I have the bottom, and then I pull off one side. And so here you could see on my Cheez-Its box, I roll out one side. And so on this box, I'm just going to pull off this one side to the side here, and when I pull it down, this is 2 and this is 2. This length right here, they're saying that my height is 5 centimeters, and so when I pull this down, I get 5 centimeters by 2 centimeters. So here's 2, here's 5, and this is my bottom. Then if I pull off the other side, remember that both sides are going to match, so this side is going to match. It's also going to be 5 by 2. And then from my bottom, I can pull off the front face. The front face can pull off here. So just like my Cheez-Its box here, this front face is folded up. I can fold it down and pull that front face out. This is my front. And so I have 10 and 10. And then my front is 10 by 5. So I'm going to put 5 here and 5 here to show it's 10 by 5. My back is going to be the same as my front. So here's my back. It's also 10 by 5. And then remember that when we draw nets, 6 total rectangles, 2 of each size. Right now I have front and back. I have left and a right side, a left side and a right side. And I only have a bottom though, and I need a top. So my top can roll off any side with any of these really. I tend to just kind of pull it off to the left often. So here's my top part, and my top is also 10 by 2. So this is 10, and here's 2 and 2. And so you can see that we have 6 total rectangles, 2 of each side. And so the shapes that I always fill in, I just fill in my shape as top and bottom. Then we have left and right, and front and back. So top and bottom, the area of 1 is 2 times 10, which is 20. But the area for both is 20 times 2, which is 40. So these two together make up 40, have an area of 40. My left and right, I'm doing 5 times 2 for one of them is 10. But because there are two of the same size, I'm going to multiply 10 times 2 to get 20. And then front and back are 5 times 10. For one of them, for just my front. And then if I multiply that by 2, because the back is the exact same, I get 100. And then I can add up all my numbers. 40 plus 20 plus 100 gives me a total surface area of 160 centimeters squared. Again, area, squarea, I square my label, centimeters squared. That is the total area on the outside of this rectangular prism that I would need to cover with wrapping paper or use cardboard for or put a label on or paint. And so you can see how we talked about in the last video the surface area formula was 2 times length times width plus 2 times length times height plus 2 times h times w. We're really doing that here. We're doing length times width and then times 2. Length times height times 2. Height times width times 2. And then we're adding all of those numbers up to get our total. And so you can see how this little table is kind of helping us visually use our net and visually see this shape. But we also know and understand that there is a formula we're allowed to use to find surface area, and that's an okay thing to do as well.